I think we're live. Okay, so welcome. Welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I'm Michael Pinter. I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. I realized recently that I should talk slower because this thing auto puts in captions, and if I talk too fast, it gets all messed up. So I got a question that is, the question itself is so much unpacking, right? What clause do you put in the contract to be able to list it on the MLS? So a couple things. First of all, let's talk about outside of New York. So outside of New York, it's easy to put this in a contract. In New York, it's possible to put it in the contract too, but you've got to understand that in New York, you're not preparing the contract. The seller's attorney is preparing the contract. We'll talk more about that in a second. So it's a straight up writer to the contract that says that you're able to show it. Now, understand, only very, very specific situations are going to call for you to be able to list it on the MLS. Here's the truth, okay? The truth is, in many parts of the country, if you're in contract, you're considered to have an equitable ownership and you're allowed to list it on the MLS. I know in my MLS, which is Stratus, LIBOR, Long Island Board of Realtors, you can list anything that you're in contract on. You're just not allowed to represent that you own it. You have to list it as a contract vendee, which means, hey, I'm in contract. And you're probably going to be looking for cash buyers. But the times that this comes up, right, so just to get back to it, you're not going to put any clause in the contract initially, right? And when you watch gurus, you see all these clauses that people are throwing into the contract. But the truth is that most of the time, in New York, the seller's attorney is going to prepare the contract. Your attorney is going to ask for things and put that clause in. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying it's different in New York because, in general, real estate transactions in 49 states take place between a buyer and a seller, and real estate transactions in New York take place between a seller's attorney and a buyer's attorney. Seller's attorney generates a contract. I just signed the contract today. Seller's attorney sent it to me. My attorney, we had some questions back and forth. We finished it. Seller's attorney sent it to me. I signed it. I wired the deposit, and I'm waiting for the seller to sign it, and then we'll be in contract. Okay. Now, there is one instance where I do want that in the contract, and that is when I do a novation. So we discussed novation. Some people, it took me months and months to get my head around it, but basically what a novation is where you go to contract, and I tell the seller, listen, usually I'm paying more than I would for a cash wholesale deal, and I would say to them, if you let me go out there and try and find someone in the future that I can make money on, because maybe they want to do work on the property after we close, then I can do your price. So I have a seller right now who wants like $545 for a house, and I think the house is worth $600. At $545, it's really too tight for me to buy it and then sell it. Right? In other parts of the country, maybe you can do that, and that would be a home run. But in New York, it's going to cost me probably more than $55,000 to buy it. Right? Closing costs of my buy it probably going to be $10,000 to $12,000. Eventually, I'm going to pay closing costs when I sell it. That'll be 2%. So if I sell it for $600, that's $12,000. And then I got to hold it in the middle, right? Probably got to pay interest if I borrow money. I've got to pay taxes on it while I'm holding it. I got to pay utilities on it when I hold it. I may have to make repairs to it, minor repairs. So I'm going to be in it for $50,000 probably, maybe more. So, and that's assuming I find a buyer right away. So I can't buy at $545. I'm going to sell at $6, but I can take a contract and novate the contract. And then so what I need from a seller, where I say is, listen, I'll give you your price, but I need a few things. Number one, I need 90 to 120 days to go find a new buyer where I can make some money. Number two, I need the ability to show the property, and I need to put a clause in that says I can market the property any way I want, including listing on the MLS. So that's where the clause goes in. And that tool in my tool belt of novations has allowed me to buy properties that I never, ever would have bought in the past, because I can. And again, let's understand, it only works in certain situations. It only works if the property is in decent condition, right, where you can sell it as is to a buyer. You don't have to do a lot of work. Sometimes you do a little bit of work. We'll talk about that more in a second. It only works if the seller has time, right? Seller can wait 3-4 months. Some sellers can't. And in that case, I say to them, I need 90 to 120 days. I need to be able to market the property. And then if I can find a buyer to novate, which means replace me in the contract, then I'm in good shape, right? And I have to understand the risk is that the buyer flakes out, the buyer can't perform, and then I have to buy it, right? And if I have to buy it in this situation for $545, it's feasible I may lose some money on it, right? But I'll lose a little bit. I don't know, maybe I'll lose $5-10 Maybe I'll make $5-10 if I can sell it for like $615, which is possible. But this ability for me to buy properties at much higher prices than I paid before, I look at it as a long-term play where I'm going to lose money on a couple, but I'm going to make more money on the. I made 40 grand on one recently, so that was great. That's great. So novations are something that are not easy to understand. This is the way I look at them. This is the way I understand them. Novations, as opposed to an assignment. So in general, I do listen. In general, when I don't close, right, I close probably half the properties I go into contract on. But when I don't close, I try to assign the contract. So I buy it. I'm A to B. A is the seller. B, I'm the buyer. And then B to C, I'll assign the contract. With an novation, you're coming out of the you're coming out really, and C is taking over. You're replacing yourself, and you're agreeing with a novation agreement, it's a separate agreement, that you're going to get any overage, but you are responsible to close if the buyer can't close, and you're responsible for any repairs if necessary. So on that deal where I made 40, I had to build some steps, and I had to do a termite inspection and a certification. So I spent around $1,000. So a huge advantage to a novation is that you can, in theory, wholesale the property to an end user buyer, a retail buyer who's going to pay much more than a cash buyer. The big disadvantage to a novation is that everybody has to know what's going on. So you got to go back to the seller and say, hey, I found the new buyer for a lot more money. And they have to be okay with that. So whereas with an assignment, if I have an assignable contract, I don't have to tell the seller I'm assigning the contract till the day of the closing. Even then, I barely have to tell them. So there are pros and cons to those things. That's how I look at novation. But the amazing part of novation is it allows me to pay significantly more for properties than I could before, because if I take the stance that there's a 99% chance that I'm going to not have to close on it, and I can just find a buyer for more than I am in contract for, the main cost you're going to have is you're going to have to pay a buyer's agent, because most of the time you're going to find a buyer, he's going to have an agent, so you're going to have to pay him whatever you're usually paying, let's say 2%. So that's your main expense. But other than that, or the legal expense, but other than that, you don't have expenses of closing costs and all that thing. Regina has a question. I have a question. How often or frequently do you market to a list? For example, with direct mail marketing, would you send out mail to a specific list more than once a month? Once a month is good. I'd say if you have a direct mail campaign, you should be sending it between 3 and 6 weeks. So I usually send it about every month. It's very important that on direct mail, much more important than anything else. I mean, every marketing channel, and we've gone completely off a tangent. Thank you, Regina. You need to touch people multiple times, right? And this is maybe the number one or number two reason that people quit this business is because they're one and doneers, right? They send a mail list and they don't get results, and they say mail doesn't work. They call a list and they say it doesn't work. They'll text a list, and people do things once. And you must touch people 4 to 5 to 6 times. Now, it's counterintuitive, right? Because when we think we're going to mail a list, we have this amazing list, the greatest list ever, and people are going to, anybody who wants to sell is just going to respond to the mail and say, hey guys, I want to sell. But that's not the way it works, really, for a few reasons. First, two main reasons. Every marketing that we do has a lot of luck involved, right? You can take a list of 10,000. I can take the same list of 10,000. There's people I will never speak to that you will, and there's people you'll never speak to that I will. There is a luck factor. Second of all, you are sort of telling people that you're committed. So what has to happen really with a mailer is that you have to sort of catch that person on the day where they want to sell, right? And that's a luck factor. So the day the tenant told them, you know what, I'm not paying rent this month. The day the roofer told them it's going to be $20,000 to redo the roof. The day that the tenant called them and the 4th refrigerator in 18 months went bad. The day that he just goes, screw this, I want to sell. Now, when you mail somebody 6 or 7 times, you're increasing that factor by 6 or 7 times. Also, you are also telling someone, because most people who mail once. And you're telling people, hey, I'm here. I'm not going away. I really want it. So those two things that you communicate increase your chance. Now, I understand really what are the numbers here. If I have a list of 10,000 and I get 2 or 3 deals off of that over 2 or 3 years, that's a successful campaign, right? If I'm averaging $35,000, $40,000 on a wholesale deal and I get $80,000 on a mailer after I spent $15,000, $20,000 on it, That's a successful campaign. So you want to increase your chances. Now, back to the story. What the hell was the question today? I don't even remember. Regina, you got me off on such a tangent. What clause? So you can put in the clause that you want to show it, but understand that on a wholesale deal, it doesn't really make sense to put it on the MLS unless everything. The only time I put a wholesale deal on the MLS is it's okay, Regina, is when it's vacant, seller's not around. Like, I don't want the seller to know it's on the MLS in general. Because most of the time they don't know I'm wholesaling. That's the truth, right? Some people are super open about it. I'm going to wholesale it. I don't. I find that it confuses the sellers, and confused minds usually says no. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com or learntoflipandwholesale.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help my algorithm. That's showing a lot more people my videos, so thank you. And please keep the comments coming. This came from a question a while ago that I had an answer. Oh, not so long ago, November. But the questions really helped me by giving me things to think about for future talks, and allow me to answer the questions, which is the point of the channel. I'm here to answer your questions. So ask anything. That doesn't have to be about the video you're watching. If it's a simple answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered recently, I'll send you a link to a video. And if it's something that I haven't covered in a while or never covered, I'll do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.